When a reclusive artist meets a mysterious stranger who can control fire, her quiet world ignites with forbidden passion and danger. As their connection deepens, she discovers that the flame he carries is both life and death, a secret that could consume them both. To Fall for Fire is a haunting story of love that burns too brightly to last.
The city lay cloaked in a haze of ash and smoke, streets slick with the residue of countless fires that had marked its tortured history. Here, love was no gentle bloom, but a dangerous spark, a flame that devoured those who dared to ignite it. Evangeline Hart moved through the labyrinthine alleys with a measured pace, her footsteps muffled by the dense layer of soot that blanketed the cobblestones. Clutched tightly in her gloved hand was a small vial, its fragile glass containing the cold, grey ashes of a love extinguished far too soon, her first love, consumed by the city's cruel curse years ago. Her stormy grey eyes flicked nervously over the crumbling facades, every shadow a reminder of the dangers lurking beneath the surface of desire. The air was thick with the acrid scent of smoke, mingling with the faint, bittersweet aroma of burnt wood and forgotten dreams. A chill wind whispered through the narrow streets, carrying with it the echoes of laughter and screams of passion and loss intertwined. Eva's layered clothing wrapped her in a cocoon of muted colors, each piece carefully chosen to shield her from the unpredictable heat of the world around her. Underneath her cautious exterior, a fierce intelligence flickered, a mind constantly calculating, weighing risks. Seeking a way to survive in a city that punished the heart's most vulnerable beats. Not far away, Rowan Wells stood amid the charred remains of a recent blaze, the air still thick with the scent of singed timber and smoke. His firefighter's jacket clung to his lean frame, the fabric damp with sweat and ash. His unruly dark hair fell over intense green eyes that seemed to hold the flicker of embers. A silent testament to the fire that raged not only in the city but within himself. He toyed absent-mindedly with a matchstick between his fingers, the small flame dancing precariously before he crushed it out. The weight of his family's history pressed heavily on his shoulders, memories of loss etched deep into his bones. Of fathers and brothers taken by the same merciless flame that now threatened anyone who dared to love. Tonight, the city was unusually restless. Whispers of new combustions had spread like wildfire, fanning the flames of fear and suspicion among its inhabitants. Rowan's jaw tightened as he surveyed the scene, the faint glow of embers casting long shadows that flickered like ghosts along the cracked walls. Their paths converged at a smoky street corner, where the dim light of a flickering brazier struggled against the persistent gloom. Eva's breath hitched as their eyes met, her stormy gaze locking with his emerald intensity. In that suspended moment, words fell away, replaced by a charged silence heavy with unspoken pain and cautious hope. She recognized the guarded warmth in his eyes, a mirror to her own carefully concealed longing. Rowan saw in her the fragile strength of someone who had weathered loss yet refused to let it define her. Between them hung the invisible barrier of the curse, a whispering presence that promised both destruction and the possibility of something dangerously beautiful. The city's murmurs seemed to fade into the background as they lingered there, two souls caught in the delicate balance between fear and desire. A sudden spark from the brazier illuminated Eva's delicate features and Rowan's tentative smile, etching the moment into the fabric of the night. Neither spoke, yet the silent exchange forged a fragile bond, a beginning as tentative and flickering as the embers that warmed the desolate streets. Eva pulled her coat tighter, the vial of ashes resting close to her heart. Rowan glanced at the darkened horizon, steeling himself for the battles to come, both against the flames that threatened the city and the invisible fire that stirred within them. As they parted ways under the smoldering skies, the weight of the city's curse hung heavy between them. Yet beneath the ash and smoke, a faint glimmer of hope flickered, a promise that even in a world ruled by fire, love might find a way to endure, slow burning and cautious but fiercely alive. And so began their uneasy dance on the edge of devastation, where every glance held the risk of combustion, and every heartbeat was a measured step toward the possibility of connection. The night deepened, and the city held its breath, waiting to see if two wary souls could learn to fall in love without falling to the flames. The city streets were cloaked in a twilight haze, the orange glow of distant embers casting long shadows against the cracked pavement. Evangeline Hart moved cautiously, her steps measured and deliberate as if the very ground beneath her might ignite underfoot. The memory of her family's tragedy, seared into her heart like a brand, whispered warnings with every beat. She pulled her scarf tighter against the chill, the layered fabric a physical barrier, much like the emotional walls she had built over the years. Her thoughts drifted to the last time she had felt something like hope, a time before the curse claimed her first love, before the flames consumed the promise of a future. That loss had left her wary, reluctant to let anyone in, especially when the stakes were so perilous. Each glance, each word exchanged, was a calculated risk, a flicker of desire tempered by the ever-present threat of combustion. Across town, Rowan Wells sat in the quiet hum of the fire station, his fingers deftly spinning a matchstick between them. The small flame that danced at its tip mirrored the flicker of warmth he felt despite the cold reality of his family's history. Loss had shaped him too. The deaths that shadowed his childhood were a constant reminder of the curse's ruthless grip. Yet, unlike many, Rowan refused to surrender to despair. His role as a firefighter was both ironic and defiant. He battled literal flames even as he sought to protect himself and those he cared for from the metaphorical ones. Their paths had crossed only briefly, but the tension between them crackled with unspoken understanding. Both bore scars invisible to the world, yet deeply felt in the spaces where love and fear collided. The city's curse was a cruel master, demanding sacrifice from anyone who dared to love. Still, in the cautious glances and tentative smiles, there was a fragile hope. Mira Solis, vibrant and unyielding, watched her best friend with a mixture of frustration and affection. The cafe she owned was a sanctuary amidst the city's smoldering despair, a place where laughter and warmth dared to exist. Her bright red hair and colorful scarves were a bold contrast to the grays and blacks of the outside world. She believed fiercely in love's resilience, often urging Eva to take emotional risks, to challenge the fatalistic beliefs that held so many captive. "You can't live wrapped in fear forever," Mira said one afternoon as they sat over steaming cups of coffee. "Sometimes you have to let the flame burn, even if it might singe you." Eva's gaze dropped to her hands, the small vial of ashes nestled in her palm, a weighty reminder of what was at stake. "It's not that simple," she whispered. "One wrong move, and it's not just my heart that burns." Meanwhile, Detective Elias Thorne pored over stacks of case files in his dimly lit office. His dark hair, streaked with gray, fell over sharp features etched with years of skepticism and quiet compassion. The curse was more than folklore, it was a deadly enigma he was determined to unravel. Each new clue, each tragic incident, added layers to the complex tapestry of the city's suffering. His investigation was a thread weaving through the lives of those caught in the curse's grip, including Rowan, whose family history was intertwined with unsolved combustions. Thorne's resolve was fueled not only by duty but by a personal connection that lent urgency to his work. As Eva and Rowan met again, beneath the flickering street lamps, the space between them was charged with unspoken words. Their eyes held a mirror to their shared pain and the tentative hope flickering between them. "We have to be careful," Eva said softly, her voice barely above the whispering wind. "I can't lose anyone else." Rowan nodded, his green eyes steady despite the turmoil beneath. "Then we take it slow, measure every step, set boundaries." Their agreement was a fragile pact, a dance around the edges of danger and desire. In that moment, they were not just two souls burdened by a curse, they were two hearts daring to connect, even if only in cautious flickers. Evangeline Hart sat on the weathered wooden bench beneath the skeletal branches of the park's oldest oak, the faint chill of early evening settling in the air. Her fingers trembled slightly as they traced the delicate contours of the small vial clutched in her palm, a vessel containing the ashes of her first love, a painful relic of the city's cruel curse. The vial was cold against her skin, yet inside burned an ember of memory she couldn't extinguish. Around her, the city murmured softly, distant footsteps, the hum of traffic, and the whisper of wind stirring the fallen leaves. Eva's stormy grey eyes darted to the vial and then away, as if afraid that looking too long would ignite something beyond control. The fear that had defined her existence since that tragic day was a constant companion, a shadow lurking behind every heartbeat. To love was to burn, to lose was to combust into nothingness. And yet, beneath her carefully layered defenses, a fragile hope flickered, a desire to connect, to feel, to risk. Across the city, Rowan Wells moved through the dimly lit streets, the orange glow of street lamps casting long shadows on the cracked sidewalks. His lean form was silhouetted against the night, unruly dark hair tousled by a gentle breeze. His intense green eyes scanned his surroundings, always alert, always protective. Tonight, however, his mission was different, not battling literal flames, but tending to the small fires of humanity. He knelt beside an elderly neighbor's broken fence, tools in hand, and began to work with steady, practiced movements. The old woman had worried aloud about the fence's dilapidation, and Rowan's impulsive kindness had driven him to fix it despite the late hour. The street lamp's glow warmed his sun-kissed skin, and for a moment, a genuine smile softened the tension etched into his features. The curse was a shadow that loomed constantly, but in moments like this, defiance took shape in quiet acts of care. Meanwhile, at Mira Solis Cafe, a vibrant oasis amid the city's smoldering anxiety, the atmosphere buzzed with life. Bright scarves hung in colorful clusters from hooks on the walls, and the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the soft notes of a guitar playing in the background. Mira's lively hazel eyes sparkled as she encouraged Eva to lower her guard, to embrace the possibility of connection despite the risks. "You can't live your life afraid of the flame, Eva," Mira said, her voice warm and insistent. "Sometimes, to find out who you really are, you have to step into the fire, even if it burns a little." Eva's gaze flickered to the window, where the smoldering streets whispered warnings she couldn't ignore. But Mira's words planted a seed of courage, and for a moment, Eva allowed herself to imagine a life where love was not a sentence to death. In a cluttered office not far away, Detective Elias Thorne sat hunched over a desk strewn with maps, photographs, and weathered case files. His sharp features were illuminated by the flicker of candlelight, the grey streaks in his dark hair catching the glow. His eyes were tired but determined, scanning the evidence for patterns that might unravel the curse's ancient origins. The flame never fully seen, but always felt whispered through the city's veins, a sinister presence feeding on fear and passion. Thorne's investigation was a race against time, each discovery heavy with the weight of lives lost and futures at stake. As days passed, Eva found herself caught in the tension between desire and survival. Her heart ached with longing for Rowan, yet her fear of intimacy tightened its grip with every shared glance and hesitant touch. Rowan, in turn, struggled to balance his impulsive nature with the need to honor Eva's boundaries, his spontaneous acts of kindness a testament to his growing devotion. One afternoon, as they crossed paths near Mira's cafe, Rowan reached out impulsively, brushing a stray lock of hair from Eva's face. The contact was electric and charged with risk. The invisible flame flickered dangerously close. Eva's breath hitched, and she stepped back, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and yearning. "I'm sorry," Rowan whispered, his voice thick with regret. "I don't want to hurt you." Eva swallowed hard, her heart pounding like a drumbeat in the quiet street. "I know," she said softly. "But it's so hard to know when to stop." That night, Eva lay awake, the vial of ashes resting on her bedside table like a talisman and a curse. Her mind replayed every moment with Rowan, the tenderness, the danger, the impossible pull between them. Could she trust her heart without losing herself? Could love be a refuge instead of a sentence? Meanwhile, Rowan wrestled with his own demons. The memories of his childhood, the faces of lost family members, the weight of his role as a firefighter tasked with controlling flames, all intertwined with his growing feelings for Eva. He longed to protect her, to shield her from the curse's cruelty, but he knew some battles were fought within. Mira's encouragement echoed in Eva's thoughts the next day as she met with her friend in the cafe. "You're not alone," Mira said, reaching out to squeeze Eva's hand. "We're all fighting the flame in our own way. But sometimes the greatest strength is in letting someone in." Eva nodded, a fragile smile breaking through her guarded exterior. The path ahead was uncertain, fraught with peril and passion, but she was beginning to see that love, even in a city cursed by fire, might still be worth the risk. At the same time, Detective Thorne uncovered fresh clues linking recent combustions to a pattern of emotional intensity, confirming that the curse was growing more volatile. His investigation intensified, bringing him closer to the truth but deeper into the city's shadows. The flame's whisper grew louder, threading through the lives of Eva and Rowan like a warning and a challenge. Their guarded hearts beat in tandem, caught between the desperate urge to connect and the instinct to protect themselves from the burning consequences. The city was a maze of shadows and smoldering light as the evening crept in, the sun dipping behind the jagged skyline, leaving a lingering glow that seemed almost reluctant to fade. Eva Hart stepped lightly onto the rooftop garden, her layered coat brushing against the cool metal railing. The scent of damp earth mingled with the faint trace of smoke from distant fires still burning in neglected corners of the city. She pulled her scarf tighter, her stormy grey eyes scanning the horizon before settling on the figure waiting near the small cluster of potted plants. Rowan Wells leaned casually against the wrought iron bench, his dark hair tousled by the soft breeze, eyes glowing with that ember-like intensity she had come to both dread and crave. He offered her a tentative smile, the kind that spoke of warmth restrained, guarded. "You made it," he said quietly, voice low enough to blend with the hum of the city beneath them. Eva nodded, her fingers clutching the edges of her coat as if anchoring herself in place. "I thought it best to meet somewhere open, away from crowded streets," she replied, voice barely above a whisper, less chance of unexpected heat. Rowan's smile faltered slightly, understanding the unspoken meaning. In this city, love was a danger, a flame that could consume as quickly as it warmed. They had agreed no sudden movements, no reckless words, no unguarded glances. But the weight of that agreement was a constant ache between them. The garden was a small sanctuary hidden from the city's prying eyes. Around them, the plants' succulents and hardy herbs seemed to thrive in spite of the urban decay, a quiet testament to resilience. Eva found herself drawn to the lavender, running a finger along its dusty purple leaves, inhaling its calming scent. "You've done well," Rowan said, following her gaze. "This place. It helps keep the chaos at bay." She glanced at him, noting the flicker of something softer in his green eyes. "I wanted a place where we could be careful, where we could talk without fear." Their conversation unfolded in measured beats, each word chosen with care. They spoke of trivial things at first: the weather, the slow return of autumn's chill, but beneath the surface, currents of deeper emotion flowed, threatening to break their fragile dam of control. As night deepened, Eva's thoughts drifted to a memory she had tried to tuck away. She saw Rowan's face soften, and in that moment, she allowed herself a brief flashback, not of him, but of a man who had shaped the fearless firefighter Rowan was trying to become. The memory was vivid, a younger Rowan, standing beside his father, Jonas Wells, in the blazing heat of a controlled burn. Jonas's strong hands rested on Rowan's shoulders, steady as the fire crackled around them. "Respect the fire," Jonas had said, voice firm but kind. "It can give life, but it can just as easily take it away." You have to know when to hold back and when to let it burn. Rowan's eyes, even as a child, had mirrored the flames, intense, unpredictable, alive. That lesson had been etched into his soul alongside the sorrow of losing Jonas to a combustion incident years later. The loss was a ghost that haunted every step Rowan took, fueling his determination to protect others and to find a way to break the city's cruel cycle. Shaking off the memory, Eva pressed her fingers to the small vial. She always carried in her coat pocket the ashes of her first love, lost to the curse's merciless fire. The scent of smoke clung faintly to the glass, a bittersweet reminder of what she risked by opening her heart again. "You think about him often," Rowan said softly, breaking the silence. His voice held no judgment, only empathy. Eva nodded, eyes fixed on the vial. "Every day. He was my first. I thought I could never love again without burning." "Maybe it's not about avoiding the fire," Rowan replied, stepping closer but keeping a careful distance. "Maybe it's about learning how to live with it." The air between them thickened, charged with an unspoken promise and a dangerous pull. Their gazes locked, each searching the other's face for signs of retreat or surrender. The world narrowed to the space they shared, the faint rustling of leaves, the distant hum of sirens, the quickening beat of their own hearts. A sudden gust of wind stirred the leaves, and with it came a tremor, a flash of heat that neither was prepared for. Eva's breath hitched. Rowan instinctively reached out, fingers brushing a stray lock of hair from her face. In that fleeting touch, the city seemed to hold its breath. The sensation was electric and terrifying. The flame whispered at the edges of their consciousness, a cruel reminder of the deadly stakes. Panic flared in Eva's eyes as she pulled back, breaking the spell. Rowan's hand dropped, the warmth between them dissipating like smoke. "We have to be more careful," Eva whispered, voice trembling with the weight of what almost happened. Rowan swallowed hard, nodding. "I know, but I don't want to lose us because of fear." The rooftop fell silent again, the city below a sprawling web of light and shadow. They were two fragile embers, glowing faintly against the dark, caught in a dance between desire and survival. As they parted that night, a sense of urgency settled over Eva. The rituals they had created to protect themselves were necessary, but perhaps not enough. The curse was not just a threat, it was a constant presence, whispering, waiting. Yet, beneath the fear, a fragile hope flickered, a hope that with patience, restraint, and courage, they might find a way to kindle a flame that would not consume them. And somewhere in the city's restless heart, the ancient curse listened, its whispers growing louder, promising trials yet to come. The night closed around Eva as she made her way down from the rooftop, every step a careful negotiation between her longing and her fear. The embers in her heart burned quietly, daring her to believe that love, even in this city, might one day be more than a dangerous dream. But the question lingered in the smoldering air: could two cautious hearts truly defy a fate written in flames? And if they failed, what would be left but ashes? Detective Elias Thorne sat alone in the dim glow of his cluttered office, the night pressing quietly against the windowpanes like a silent witness to his obsession. Scattered across the worn wooden desk were brittle papers, faded city maps, brittle old manuscripts, and cryptic notes penned in hurried script. The faint scent of dust and old ink filled the air, mingling with the low hum of the city beyond. Thorne's sharp eyes, streaked with grey and shadowed by sleepless nights, traced the interwoven paths of past combustions, tragic events that had left scars on the city and its people. Each mark on the map whispered secrets of a curse older than memory, an ancient flame that had rooted itself deep in the city's heart. With a sigh, Thorne leaned back in his creaking chair, the weight of history pressing down on him. He had dedicated years to unraveling the mystery, to understanding the cruel mechanism that punished love with fire and ash. Tonight, a breakthrough flickered to life, a connection between the curse and a forgotten tragedy centuries past. This was more than a force of destruction. It was a shadow woven from fear, loss, and the desperate attempts of those who had come before to contain it. Meanwhile, not far from Thorn's dusty office, Mira Solis prepared for a different kind of battle. In the basement of her small cafe, she arranged candles and gathered chairs, transforming the space into a sanctuary against the city's oppressive dread. The air was warm with the scent of brewing tea and the soft murmur of whispered conversation. Mira's bright red hair glowed under the flickering candlelight, her lively hazel eyes sparkling with the fierce optimism that refused to be dimmed by the city's fatalistic grip. Tonight was more than a gathering, it was an act of rebellion, an underground celebration of love and connection amidst the ever-present threat of combustion. Mira believed in the power of community, in the strength found when hearts joined in defiance of fear. One by one, a small crowd trickled into the basement, faces etched with cautious hope and longing. Stories were shared, laughter broken by pauses heavy with remembrance, and for a few precious hours, the curse's shadow seemed to waver. Evangeline Hart found herself at the edge of this fragile gathering, seated quietly at a corner table. Her fingers toyed with a small vial of ashes, the last remnants of her first love, consumed by the flame years ago. The vial was a talisman and a torment, a reminder of all she feared and all she yearned for. Eva's stormy grey eyes reflected the soft candlelight as Mira's voice rose in an impassioned plea for hope and courage. Despite the warmth in the room, Eva felt the familiar chill of caution coiling in her chest. She had built walls around her heart, layers of protection woven from grief and fear. Yet tonight, something shifted, a delicate flicker of possibility that maybe, just maybe, love could survive the fire if nurtured slowly, carefully. Outside, Rowan Wells lingered in the cool night air, his tall frame silhouetted against the glow of the cafe windows. The city's smoldering streets stretched out before him, shadows dancing like restless spirits beneath the street lamps. His unruly dark hair ruffled in the breeze, and his intense green eyes flickered like embers as he watched the scene within, couples sharing warmth and laughter, a defiant flame in the darkness. Rowan's heart battled its own tumult. As a firefighter, he was intimately familiar with the destructive power of fire, yet here he stood, drawn to its symbolic warmth, and terrified of its promise. The curse had stolen so much from him, his family, his peace, and still, he dared to hope. Tonight was a step, small and tentative, toward a future where love might not be a death sentence. Back inside, Detective Thorne's cautious conversation with Mira laid bare the fragile threads of hope and danger. He spoke in hushed tones about his discoveries, about the ancient flame's origins and the possibility that understanding it might offer a way to temper its cruelty. Mira listened, her eyes alight with resolve, and together they plotted a path forward not just for themselves, but for the city suffocating under the curse's weight. Eva and Rowan attended the gathering separately, each wrestling with their fears in the sanctuary of shared defiance. Though their paths had crossed only briefly before, tonight their spirits moved closer, bound by a common yearning and the tentative hope that love could be measured, controlled, and maybe, just maybe, survive. The flame, the curse itself, seemed to whisper through the flickering candlelight, a spectral presence felt but unseen. It was a reminder of the dual nature of love, its power to warm and to consume, to create life, and to deliver destruction. Eva and Rowan's journey was now intertwined with this whisper, a dance on the edge of embers and ash. As the gathering drew to a close, the city outside remained restless, its streets alive with smoldering secrets and whispered fears. But within the cafe's walls, a fragile hope kindled, one that dared to challenge the darkness, one measured moment at a time. The night's quiet defiance left Eva clutching her vial a little less tightly, and Rowan stepping back into the shadows with a heart a little more unguarded. The flame's whisper had not been silenced, but for the first time it was met not just with fear, but with courage. And so the city held its breath, waiting to see if love could truly find a way to burn without destruction. The evening air was thick with the scent of damp earth and faint smoke, a lingering reminder of the